Hey, everybody, we're back this week. We're immediately skipping over all the technical issues. We're not even going to mess with that. I know it was annoying to watch last week's show, but we're not even going to get into it. Team of Rivals podcast. The three are one here tonight, still waiting on Ron to come back from his hiatus. But in a little bit, Aaron Mullins is going to join us once he gets to a safe place. Elliott, Brecklyn, everything is awful. I don't want to talk about baseball tonight.
What a week.
very, very good.
I like it.
Doom boners for the fan base.
Oh, my Doom boner is 3 feet tall, man.
It is. And and you had both Theo and Jed on the score today, and it's everybody knows what is obvious to everybody. It's the bullpen. And then you got Jed saying today, well, we're going to focus on, what we already have, and we're going to get everybody right. And, this is, we're at the 5th game of the season or 6th game of the season. And it's like, but the entire fan base, the entire offseason was, hey, you going to do something about that bullpen? It's not that good. And what has happened after these first couple of games? The bullpen blows.
Yeah, but they can't talk about their bosses.
Oh, you mean Tom Ricketts not opening up the checkbook to get them some freaking help?
Yeah, and that's ultimately the issue, right? The Ricketts put a kibosh on the budget and
a self-imposed budget.
Right, correct. And the front office couldn't address the most glaring need, and I said it in our preview. I thought that if the starting pitching was good enough, it might be able to paper over some of this issue. The starting pitching has been fine. It hasn't been good enough, though, to hide the fact that the bullpen has serious holes in it.
Yeah.
What can you guys tell me about the opening pitching, too? Because all I've heard is about how the bullpen actually sucks and that Yu Darvish was bad and now he might be good? What's going on there?
I would say he was fine tonight.
He could have gone longer, but he got the hook early for some reason.
Yeah. He was terrible in his first outing. And if you read everything that's been posted about it, there was probably some nerves and inability to focus being back in Texas. Probably a little bit of big or actual game rust that he had to shake off, considering that he hadn't pitched a meaningful game in 9 months. I guess there was a mechanical issue that he and Tommy Hotovy identified in between watching film. So there were a lot of factors that went into why he was so historically bad. It was Elliott, 58 pitches before the Rangers finally put a ball in play.
Yeah. And I know the walks were an issue. He was nibbling, and there were some calls that he wasn't getting. But you can't blame the umpire on that. But then there was a lot of swings and misses, and he was either striking them out or he was walking them. So double-edged sword there.
Yep. And it's been frustrating to watch too, because the offense has been fairly good. With the exception of the 2 getaway games against the Rangers and tonight against the Braves. The offense has been pretty good. They've been selective. They've been hitting the ball hard. They've been taking their walks. They've been putting balls in play and haven't been pressing for home runs because they've been moving runners over, and they've been doing what they do well. The defense has been good with the exception of 1 game against Texas or against Atlanta. Everything that. If the bullpen wasn't so terrible, I'd feel pretty good about the way that things have started. But the bullpen has been so bad.
Yeah, glaringly bad. 17 before tonight, it was like 17.1 innings pitched, 17 walks with an ERA over 6.
And I think 17 hits too.
Yeah,
you're not going to get away with allowing 2 runners per inning.
No. And with the offense being, I think the the batting average number 1 in baseball, the on base percentage number 2 or 3 or 4 in baseball, and 6 runs per game was good for 3 in baseball right now. But at 1 and 4 with when you can't keep a late lead, you're not gonna pull those ball games out. And you know what? If the bullpen is just average at best for these few games, the Cubs would probably be 4-1 right now instead of 1-4.
Right,
about to
because
be 1-5.
the 3 games that the bullpen blew, and it's hard to count tonight's game as a bullpen loss because they were already losing. I mean, Darvish gave up 3 runs, and the Cubs had, were being perfect game was being thrown against them through, what was it, 4 2/3, I believe.
No, 6.
Was it through? Did he make it into the 6th inning?
No, yes, he made it into the 6th
okay,
inning.
So 5 2/3. 5 2/3 innings.
Yeah.
That he was that Fried was perfect against the Cubs. So, it's hard to lay this one on the bullpen, but the other 3 losses, I mean, they were squarely on the bullpen. The Cubs were either well in the lead or had come back and taken the lead. And then the bullpen just gave it away. So, you're right, Elliott. If the bullpen was just average, the team would be in much better shape.
I was trying to track the game yesterday. Isn't that what happened where they had the lead and within the last inning or so, it all just last 2 innings?
Twice, wasn't it, Elliott? That
Twice.
They had the lead and they blew it and they came back.
Yikes.
Yeah, in Texas and in Atlanta.
No, but I mean, last night, didn't they? They had the lead. They came back and took the lead twice, and the bullpen blew it twice.
Yikes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's been tough to watch. They got a really great game from John Lester last night. They got a great game from Lester in his first start.
Not only pitching, but at the dish. The guy had a hit, an RBI, and 2 walks.
2 walks. Yeah. Jose Quintana looked good when he came on and pitched in relief in Darvish's start, and they that was planned. If anybody was surprised to see Jose Quintana in the second game, that was planned. They knew that he was going to be at the back end of the rotation and wouldn't pitch until later this week anyway. So they had always planned that if anybody blew up and they needed a long man, he was going to be it, and he pitched well. And when all things considered, I was very happy with the way that Quintana looked. So.
Yeah.
And Kyle Hendricks, it's hard to lay that game on him because the offense or the defense was historically bad. What was it, 7 errors?
Yeah,
6,
errors, but
like
it should have been 7.
And most of them were mental errors, which are obviously the worst kind.
Oh, yeah. And you don't know if it's because there's been so much pressure externally and internally for these guys to get off to a hot start and perform. Right. And they were even talking today that after last night's game, Lester pretty much gathered everybody around. Is like, listen, we all just need to take a deep breath here and realize that this is game 5 of 162. We don't need to be pressing this hard at the beginning of the year. Let's get our feet under us and let's just play some baseball.
Right.
But
yeah.
And who knows? I mean, I know you don't lose. I know that this being 1-4 or 1-5 to start the season isn't going to kill them because of the way that we've seen them play. And this is pretty much the core that was intact last year that won 95 games. So, I mean, yes, the Doom Boners are out and the Doom Boners are huge right now, but
and to that point,
it just makes it tough.
Cubs fans, we've got a live poll for you. I just found out how to do this. This is fun. Ron may never wrest the broadcast rights away from me when he does return. Cubs fans, Amazing. We got a live poll for you. How big is your Doom Boner?
What are my options?
Oh, your options are 1 inch, 6 inches, 3 feet, or infinity. How big is your Doom Boner? So you can go ahead. You can cast your vote live right now. We've already got, looks like we've got 1 vote in. Yep, we've got 1 vote in for 3 feet. So, so we've got 1 3-foot Doom Boner. We'll see where things end up by the end of the show. We'll obviously have to replace that once Aaron comes on, but I'm sure that there are some Cardinals doom boners out there as well. So, speaking of which, Brecklyn, how are things in Cardinals country?
I don't think I'm the best Cardinals fan to ask because I'm not the happiest person in the world. I got a bunch of hot takes for you, probably.
Let's hear
But,
it. I did like the exchange or just the outburst in our text group. All of a sudden, I just get a message from Brecklyn that says, "Marcell Ozuna, get off my team."
Yes.
I had no context. I was out with my son. No idea what was going on. Brecklyn, what the hell happened? And I thought that they listened to you because they pulled him from the lineup last night.
Good. I didn't even realize that. I watched near the end of it, and I was so happy. It's just, okay, I have to clarify to make sure that we don't have another Dexter Fowler type of incident happen. I hope that he figures it out. I have nothing against Marcell Ozuna as the person, but as a player, get off my field. So, the thing that bothers me, for the same reason that everyone loves Harrison Bader right now because he can hustle, I don't think I've seen Marcell Ozuna break out into a fast jog since the middle of the season last year.
Maybe
especially
he's
out in that
physically
outfield.
incapable. He's got that big bare belly. Maybe he
Yeah.
just physically can't do more than jog.
Well, if he's going to just kind of do that type of thing, then he can help with batting practice to stop what you're doing. Oh, it's so bad. And whenever you see the ball launch over there, I don't even remember what game it was, but it went way far out into his territory. Like almost thought it was going to be a home run type of thing. The ball dinks off of the wall and goes rolling past Ozuna, and he kind of wobbles over to get it. And I thought, come on, man. Like, you got to get after it. No, and so then he finally gets the ball, and the throw to the cutoff guy was just worse than Matt Carpenter trying to play third base. It was so bad. Yeah, and then the same thing, I was listening to a game on the radio while I was trying to walk to classes, and the way that the announcers talked about it was that he was going to get on base. He should have had it. He was running to first, and then they said, oh, he realizes he has to run a little faster here to get there in time. And I thought, you shouldn't have to kick up the gas that much. You should already be going that hard to get to base. And he was thrown out. He doesn't know what a walk is. He doesn't try to run fast. What are you doing playing professional baseball right now? I don't even know if you could be good because it seems like you're not trying.
That's awesome.
I'm so mad.
It sounds like it.
I have a lot of feelings.
We'll go with that. I mean, that's what this is all about. You go with the feelings, and we'll validate those feelings by reinforcing how bad we think your team is.
Yeah.
It'll help keep us warm at night.
Warm at night. It's all right. Me looking at the Cubs standings right now makes me feel nice and cuddly. So.
I bet it does.
Were you about to say something, Elliott?
No, it's been really disheartening the way that this season has started. I mean, the other night, as soon as the bullpen gave up that last lead, I shut it off and I went to bed. I didn't even want to see what was going to happen next and how bad it was going to get. I mean, tonight I started listening to the game on the way home, and I'm like, dude, I even questioned to myself, do I even want to go through more than a couple innings because I know shit's gonna happen here at the end, and it's just like, why do I want to do this to myself? I almost feel like this is 2013 again.
I think that's the saddest I've ever heard you.
Elliott, does it make it worse that you're still in Wisconsin and the Brewers are playing so well right now?
Oh, awful.
Or does it not matter?
Yeah, no, it's awful. It is, because every time I see a goddamn Brewer sticker on somebody's car, I'm just like, I just want to get right next to him and give him the finger.
I saw a very interesting postulate on the internet the other day. So I'm going to throw this out there, particularly to you, Elliott. Is the Cubs home opener this weekend or is it on Monday?
That's true. It's probably this weekend.
Okay.
Probably.
Because the Cubs play at Brewers, and there's
Wrigley North.
probably there's probably going to be more Cubs fans than Brewers fans.
Well,
And
yeah.
Brewers fans hate when the Cubs play there because people invade Miller Park because it is a nicer ballpark. It has a parking lot. You can tailgate.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they make room for tailgating.
All right. I have to represent Ron's interests here and say, on what planet is it a nicer ballpark? It's just a great big airplane hangar that they happen to play baseball in. I
Yeah.
think that's a direct quote.
Probably.
With a retractable roof, so you can hide yourself from the elements, like like a regular Midwestern team should probably do. That has winter,
Blasphemer.
April.
Baseball is meant to be played outside in the elements.
You know what? They can do that. When it's nice outside, they can open up that top and it's outside.
Brecklyn, I think that you can agree with me that Elliott is full of shit.
I think that Elliott likes playing baseball games when it's snowing.
No. I've been to way too many Cubs games sitting in the right field first base side bleachers when it's been 36 degrees outside with a little bit of mist blowing right in your face coming in off the lake, and it just makes it miserable.
Refreshing. It's refreshing.
Nice.
No.
It's a good little
No, because
sprit.
you know what happens? You leave in the third inning and you go to the dugout and you drink cheap beers and get hammered.
Okay. And
Yeah, I'd rather be at the ballpark
Hammered
when it was
baseball.
awful.
well, then dress appropriately for the weather, Elliott. Stop wearing shorts in March.
One
You're
of those guys.
You're
Oh,
one
he
of those
was.
guys, aren't you? You
Yeah.
try to wear
It
shorts
was
year
April.
round.
He was
I
a
wish.
state wrestler. Of course, he wears basketball shorts like year round.
He was not just a state wrestler; he was a state champion.
Right. Sorry,
And also took
didn't mean
third
to
place.
insult your title.
He wasn't just a state champ; he also took third place the year before. So let's not act like this was a flash in the pan. This was
That's
something he was
true.
building to.
It defines who he is, really.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It's just a nice notch in the belt.
Yeah. Someday
That's
I will
true.
make it to Busch Stadium. Someday. I've been to Wrigley, but I haven't been to Busch, and I haven't been to Miller Park.
What's
So,
preventing you?
I'm poor, and I live approximately 7.5 hours away from St. Louis.
Oh, wait.
You've got a boyfriend.
You can't use
He's poor too.
that as an excuse because you've been to Wrigley, which is the most expensive between Busch and Miller Park.
That's because I had very generous people, and I did not pay for myself. So.
Okay. There you
College kid perk. People say, "Oh, poor," and then they help them. Speaking of, thanks for dinner that one night, guys.
go. You're welcome.
Yeah. No, it'll happen someday. Let's see. Nope, can't even say that. I was going to say I had been to St. Louis before. Family isn't a baseball family, but we were there for when the Rams were playing, and that was the most miserable football experience I had ever had, but I thought it was interesting that they had the enclosed stadium, and I can't relate to it at all.
All right, folks, joining us now, our guest tonight, Aaron Mullins. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing good. Just got off work, drove home, and excited to be on the show tonight, guys.
We appreciate you coming on. Tell me we already know what feels worse for Elliott, but what feels better for you? Knowing that your team is 3-3 and in second in place in the NL Central, or knowing that the Cubs are about to go 1-5 and are dead last?
I feel better that we're 3-3. And the reason that I say that is because maybe it gets some of the fans to chill out a little bit. The Brewers series, it ended 1-3, but to act like we got steamrolled is just lunacy. A couple things didn't go our way, and we ended up 1-3. But Both teams ended the series with 19 runs, 9 home runs. We're putting up runs. We just, we got to fix a couple things. The rotation hasn't looked the best, but our bullpen's been pretty solid so far, which is a big question mark coming into the season. So that's a positive. And I think the Cubs are going to be fine, honestly. Even if they start off 1-5, do you think they're only going to have 27 wins at the end of the year?
No, I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah,
but
that trend's not going to continue.
No, but they need to fix this bullpen issue, and they need to fix it fast.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This bullpen cannot hold a lead.
No, absolutely. And, every team's got stuff they need to work on. This first week kind of gives you an idea.
Yep.
But these trends aren't going to continue for the rest of the year. The Cubs, I think, are going to be right there at the end. They're going to be a problem for us. The Cardinals, the Brewers, and potentially even the Reds and even the Pirates. There are good things from every single team in this division. So it might come down to the wire.
And that's the thing that concerns me about the Cubs start right here. And I think should concern any team or any fan whose team isn't starting off strong is I don't think it's even arguable that the National League is the better league right now. Now, the American League may have better teams at the top, but overall, the National League is a murderer's row this year. It's going to be tough to make the playoffs in the NL. In the AL, you can write in the division winners right now, and it's going to be 4 or 5 teams that are playing for the wild card. Whereas in the NL right now, it looks like it could be anyone.
Yeah, the NL is ridiculous.
Well, and look at the top tier teams that everybody thought or look at the teams that were thought to be the top tier teams at the beginning of the season right now that are doing poorly. Houston, the Yankees, Boston, all have really started slow at the beginning of this season, which as an NL fan looking at the American League, super surprised, which I'm sure some of these AL fans are looking over the National League and being like, what is going on with the Cubs and Cardinals right now? But on the flip side, they're also being like, are the San Diego Padres actually above 500 right now? What is this?
It's very true.
As much as it burns Ron, I think the Padres are going to be good this year.
Don't say shit like that, Pete.
I could hear him scream in the distance.
Is that what that noise was?
Yeah, I think so. That blood curdling thing. Yeah,
It was a big sigh, and then his head banging against something.
Against the wall. He's not going to come back now after you said that.
I know.
Right.
Yeah. Aaron, I got a question for you. So I do my best to keep up with all the games, but I want to know your opinion on Andrew Miller, because from what I've seen, I'm not impressed.
Yeah. A funny story. A couple weeks ago, my girlfriend and I took a trip down to Florida to catch a spring training game, and Miller pitched in that game. And when he came into the game, I was so excited. I'm like, oh man, Andrew Miller is going to be fantastic. To say he was ineffective would be an understatement. I don't think he recorded an out, and he was missing a lot of spots. But what I found interesting is that he was missing essentially the same spot with the same pitch. He kept missing down and in to righties on that slider. And I was like, well, at least he's consistent. Maybe he can fix it. And there have been times during the season so far that I've seen him pitch, and I'm like, man, it's still got such good movement. And, he's throwing some of it for strikes, but then a lot of times he's missing in that same spot. He's just down and into righties. He's getting so far off the plate. And in a way, it almost reminds me of Brett Cecil. And let me clarify. When Brett Cecil was pitching well, he was getting outs with that slider. And I feel like this is a very similar situation, that there aren't many people biting on Andrew Miller's slider. And so all of a sudden it's like, oh crap. And so he has to try to throw strikes, and then he's trying to throw strikes, and then people are hitting off of him.
Yeah.
How's his velocity been so far this season compared to previous years?
Compared to previous years, I have no idea. I've seen it touching like 94, 95, which I think is pretty hard.
I wonder if it has to do something maybe with his spin rate. I mean, I know that's kind of weird to say, but a lot of times when pitchers are struggling like that, if their velocity is about what it was, it may be something with the either arm slot or their spin rate on their pitches.
Yeah, that's similar to what happened to Tyler Lyons this past year.
Mm.
Is like his spin rate on his slider was like significantly worse than it had been in previous years, and you see that the Cardinals ended up releasing him. So if that's something that's happening to Miller, hopefully he gets it fixed. This is 2 years in a row that the main reliever that I wanted the Cardinals to pursue is not doing so hot. I really liked Holland last year. Of course, we get him at the end of the year, and he struggles, and now Miller's coming out of the gate kind of struggling. It's getting to the point where I'm just going to stop telling people who I want in the bullpen because it's not working at all.
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you look forward to it, it's not going to work. That's why I'm so bad at beat the streak. I just don't have expectations anymore.
I've been talking to people all day today because I write all these bold prediction pieces, and my last one that I did, and I'm gonna stick by it. And if it doesn't happen, oh well. But I think Paul DeYoung's gonna have a breakout year. I think he's gonna be a real force in this lineup, and I said that he's gonna finish in the top 5 in the NL MVP. People think I'm stupid. Joke's on you. I already knew that, but but people are talking a lot of trash today because I made another post about it, and I just said, if I'm wrong, I'm only 1 for 15 on these bold predictions. Oh well. It's not like I'm batting 300 on these bad boys. So if I'm wrong, oh well.
Oh. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I would agree with the Paul DeYoung statement. I'm really excited for it. I don't know if he's going to be number 5, but I will say that he's going to have an amazing year. And I should be tentative in saying that because we only have about a week of real baseball under our belts at this point.
Right.
But when you see that everything is clicking like that, now keep in mind, spin rate, velocity, all that stuff, whenever we're talking about like pitchers and the stats for just anybody, that's still something I'm wrapping my head around. So I'm not going to be able to look at some stats and say, yeah, look at all this. But when you physically just like look at somebody and you can see that everything's clicking, you know that it's all working out and that's stuck with that player. And right now, that's what's going on for Paul DeYoung. It's the same thing with Harrison Bader for those first few games. I thought that he was off just a little bit, and now it seems like it's starting to get a bit better. And so a lot of the team, we were talking earlier that, Cardinals fans that are saying, we're going to be awful for the entire season. It's the first week of real games. I don't care that they had spring training beforehand. It's different playing in, a full game at the stadiums compared to spring training. They got to kind of knock the rust off still. But when you see that they have it, they've got it. And that's what I think Paul's got going on right now. So
I mean, he's got hits in his last 5 games. I mean, granted, some of those have been like 1 for 5, but I mean, he's still getting hits. He's still getting on base, which is something that I like to see from him. I think he's an above average defender. A lot of the metrics said so last season. I was arguing with people about that today, but oh well. They were talking about his range and his arm strength, and to me, his arm strength looks pretty good. It's going exactly where he wants it, and I think that's fine. You can throw it as hard as you want, but unless you're hitting the letters, I don't really care how hard you throw. And so he's getting it to first base. He's getting it at the letters. Seems like every time he's throwing the ball, it looks good.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think he's going to have a good year, and I think that's one of the reasons why I picked him in the top 5 for the NL MVP is because I think his defense is going to play a huge factor into that. And if he goes back-to-back really good defensive years, I think he might get a little more consideration for that. But I have my projections for him pinned to my Twitter, so if people want to go look at that, I'm sticking by it, man. I don't care. And if I'm wrong, oh well. I had a guy commenting back and forth with me when I first made the post, and he told me that I was an idiot. And I told him, I'm like, hey man, at the end of the year, if it doesn't work out, come join our podcast, and you can feel free to call me an idiot live on the air. But I mean, we invited him on. We were like, hey man, come on and talk to us about it. He's like, no, I'll talk to you at the end of the year when you're wrong. I'm like, fair enough.
Dang. He's got to make sure that he's right before he goes on and like starts talking.
Aaron, did he actually have a profile picture, or was he just an egg?
I'm pretty sure. He had a profile picture, but I don't think it was of him.
Of course not. Keyboard warrior.
It was Paul DeYoung.
It was about the Paul DeYoung thing. Yeah, he said that I was out of my mind. And
no, I was saying that his profile picture was of Paul DeYoung.
That would just be great irony.
That'd be awesome.
36 home runs and 110 RBIs, huh?
Yeah, I think that's what he would need to do in order to get those type of votes. Yes.
Top 5. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, for him to get into the top 5, I think that's what would be absolutely necessary. I think he would have to be close to the 900 OPS range, and he's going to have to showcase that power that he's already shown that he has, but with a slight uptick. He's also going to have to work a little bit more on his walk rate, which he did from his rookie season of last year. His walk rate did go up, and I think his strikeout rate also needs to improve for those numbers to go. I mean, I've written like 2 pieces on what I think Paul DeJong can be worth, and I've spent countless amount of time talking about it. And I think he's absolutely got the ability to do it. I think a good comparison for him is Trevor Story. Their first 2 seasons mirrored are almost identical. It's shocking how similar they are. And Trevor Story this past season had his, I guess, second breakout season compared to his rookie year. And I think he finished 9th or 10th in the NL MVP. So I don't think it's out of the question that DeJong can do something similar and squeeze into the top 5. That's why it's bold. I mean, in reality, I could have said gets MVP votes and could finish like 30th for all I care. But that's why I went bold and went top 5.
Yeah, better to take a chance and look really smart.
I mean, it's only happened once, and that was about Miles Michaelis last season.
what a good boy.
Yeah.
So, Pete and Elliott, I'll make sure that you guys get a chance to talk again here soon. But while we're talking about specific players, Colton Wong, though, I am very excited about him. I know last year lots of people were wanting to get him to get that second base, award for everything, and I want it. I want him to beat out Javi Baez. I mean, I am going all in on Colton Wong this year.
Well, he can probably beat out Javi Baez this year because Javi's going to be over at short.
Yeah, I mean,
that's important.
And that was the same thing last year. I mean, Javi Baez spent so much time at shortstop that in reality, I don't think he should have gotten too much consideration at second base. The fact that LeMahieu won over Wong was a little weird to me, but, if you look at what LeMahieu did, he had a really good year, and the defensive metrics back that up. So would I have preferred Wong? Yeah, I think he was better, but LeMahieu also had more innings over there, which probably helped make his case a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Colton Wong's on fire right now. You already know what he's going to do defensively, and if you look at his second half last season, he was easily one of the best hitters on the team.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that that's carried over doesn't shock me too much because of how much he respects Mike Schilt. And I think that really goes into effect. He didn't really get along with Mike Matheny. He has talked about that publicly talking about that leash that he had. And it seemed like if he struggled, he was out of the lineup. And this relationship he has with Schilt, I'm sure has so much to do with how much success he's having.
Why does he have all that respect for Schilt? Is it that he played under him a lot in the minors?
I think that's a big part of it. He's played with him before, and he already has that relationship that's built up. So the fact that that's carried over at the major league level, I'm sure has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I'm super excited. I'm just glad to see that it doesn't seem like he missed a step. The whole losing momentum didn't happen for him, and I'm really excited to see, how much farther he could potentially go with it.
Yeah, he looks more confident than ever. And so I'm looking forward to see what he can do for a full season. I tweeted about that too. I hope Wong has a career year both offensively and defensively so all the haters will shut up.
Yes. Nice. And then this is another question. I don't have an opinion on this because I wasn't able to see the game at all, wasn't able to listen to it. So I'm putting that disclaimer out there. What happened with Adam Wainwright?
He walked the first 3 batters of the game, I think, or walked the first 2, but he walked 3 in the first inning, and I think he ended up giving up 4 runs total, walked 4 guys. I mean, the command just wasn't really there from the start with him.
Okay.
I mean,
I was wondering.
Yeah, that same spring training game I went to, Wainwright started and went 5 1/3 and pitched really, really well. He only gave up like 65 pitches to the point where after he was taken out, he went over to the bullpen and threw like another 20.
Wow. Okay.
He threw really well in
Yeah.
that game, but yeah, this first start, he wasn't getting many pitches. I mean, to be fair, from what I did see, the strike zone was atrocious, but if you've noticed that early on and the strike zone's that bad, you need to be able to adjust, and I don't think he was really able to do that.
There's been a lot of that horrible strike zone called by umpires this year. I don't know if you saw what happened with Ron Culpa.
Oh my God!
It was the
with
dumbest
the
thing I've ever seen.
It was unbelievable. And there, a couple of guys have posted a breakdown of it on there. He was looking for somebody to run, and he was just looking to pick a fight with somebody in that Houston Astros dugout. I mean, his called strikes on some of these balls were awful. Some of the worst called pitches that I have ever seen. And it wasn't like he missed one here or there. He was consistently calling balls strikes that were 3 or 4 inches off the plate.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. I think umpires, they need to legitimately look at the zone and keep track of every single game. And if umpires are consistently missing that bad, fine them. It's getting absolutely ridiculous, the amount of missed calls that are both strikes and balls that are just.
Supposedly, they do review. They do review that with the umpires after games. They review their calls, and that includes the strike zone. That's at least what I have. I've read, and there may be discipline, but per the contract, discipline of umpires isn't shared publicly. So nobody has any idea what happens to these guys like Angel Hernandez and Ron Culpa and Joe West.
And you know what?
The games about them.
We shouldn't know these umpires' names, but we do because they are consistently awful. Joe West is Mr. Ump Show. Ron Culpa is just a terrible balls and strike caller. The same with Angel Hernandez, who thinks their shit don't stink. So, and one of the worst things about the Ron Culpa thing was he was telling Hinchy that I can do whatever I want. Yeah. It's like, no, you can't. You are an impartial umpire who is supposed to know the strike zone, but obviously you have a problem with it. And I think what they really need to do is they need to take the rotation out of calling balls and strikes. I understand maybe not do it 2 days in a row for some of these guys, especially during the summertime. But if you have a certain percentage of bad calls behind the plate that is reviewed, you should not be able to call balls and strikes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. My co-host on the other show, Blake Root, just commented, said he also stared into the Astros dugout instead of watching the next pitch, which is why AJ was mad and got rung. There's a lot going on there.
And AJ Hinch looked at him and goes, "Don't look at us. Look out there." He's like, "Look, pay attention to what's going on out in the field and not what's happening in the dugout."
Yeah, I mean, you have a job to do, man.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no reason why you should be looking over there,
right?
At all.
I mean, he did it as soon as he got back behind the plate. He put his mask on and then looked into the dugout. It's like, dude, the game is out here.
Yeah, he was spoiling for a fight.
Yeah, eye on the ball, sir.
Yeah, to go back to whether or not they're disciplined. I mean, if they are disciplined, it obviously doesn't matter to some of these guys because they're going to keep doing it. And we've seen the same guys continue to do it. So if there is discipline, it's obviously not enough because these guys aren't going to quit doing it.
Yep.
Right. Especially Cowboy Joe and Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
Angel Hernandez, I think, is the worst example of the grasp of the strike zone, though. His strike zone's terrible. As much as Ron Culpa gets called out for it, Angel Hernandez, I don't think, has any conception of what the actual strike zone is or is supposed to be. And the more that they blow calls like this, the louder the calls for baseball to implement a robot strike zone are going to be.
Right.
Yeah,
how do you argue against it?
Seriously, Ron Culpa is like Leslie Nielsen behind the plate.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, especially on like his first calls where he's like, strike. I'm not so sure if this was a strike or not, but I'm going to call it one. And then wait for the reaction from the crowd. So, look at this. Cubs have scored 4 runs in the bottom or the top of the 9th.
Wait, what?
Well, there you go.
Rizzo and Baez went back to back.
Yeah.
Huh.
Rizzo hit a 2-run shot, and then Baez hit a solo homer. I don't know how they
Bryce-
scored the fourth.
Bryce
Well,
Harper
that'll
went
help.
0-5
Zagunis.
yesterday. Is that right? Am I
Did he?
getting that right? That's what I
He
heard.
finally had a bad game.
He had another bad game. Yeah. Someday. I'm just gonna stick on that. Someday you might be able to pull me off of that, but I just don't think he's that good.
Who?
He's been on fire this
Chris
year.
Bryant.
Oh, Chris
I yelled
Bryant. You
more
said
about
Bryce
that in the
Harper.
comments. Yeah, Aaron Mullins is the guy that has all the stats, and he's going to be able to look
Yeah,
like,
man.
no, look, he's a good player, and I'm going to be like, I
Oh,
don't
he is
care.
though. Is the problem? Like,
This is the problem. Yeah.
if Chris Bryant was on the Cardinals, I'd be very happy with him at third base. He is a
What?
fantastic player. The fact that he plays for the Cubs kind of sucks because we have to play against him. But
Yeah.
he's a great player. Absolutely.
I'm so conflicted about Matt Carpenter being on third base right now, to where right now I don't know who I wouldn't want at third base. And am I a bad Cardinals fan for saying that? I can
No.
feel just the universe squeezing in on me whenever I say anything bad about Matt Carpenter.
Well,
No, I
Elliott
mean-
was very excited the other day when Yachty was at third.
Oh my gosh, what
Do you know-
happened?
Do you know how badly I wanted him to get a ground ball and just hose the
Oh,
guy at
I did
first base?
too.
That would have been the most amazing thing because the next day you'd see at their practice, Matt Carpenter was getting time at catcher and Yachty was playing third base now. Because at least he's got the arm to just hose a guy. I wanted to see it so bad, but evidently that's not in the cards today. No pun intended.
Well, I'm sure he'll get another chance.
That's
I mean, our dream came true in 2016 when Travis Wood got to field a baseball up against the wall during that magical season after he had already played left field once. So just keep biding your time, Aaron. I'm sure it'll come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and when Carpenter got thrown out, I get that some of those pitches were borderline, but at that point he was 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Dude, just sit down.
Just that's what I had to guess.
You
because
had done absolutely nothing to make your case that day.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize I was off living life and I wasn't even able to track the game at the moment. And then I get a text from these two guys saying Yachty's at third base. And I thought, well, it's got to be that Matt Carpenter is mad about a strike that he thought should have been a walk and then got ejected. And so I'm glad that I got a little bit of back.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in his defense, there were a couple different times where he got called out on strikes, and they were borderline pitches. But especially on the last one, you've already seen that happen to you earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Swing the bat.
Yeah.
But
There's comes a time you just got to go with it. I mean, it seems to be his thing to where, and I have to give this disclaimer anytime that I give a take like this. I'm not saying anything bad about Matt Carpenter, the person, but it seems to be his thing that he magically is able to tell when it's a ball and when it's a strike, and anything that goes against what he thought it was is like a huge deal. And there just comes a time where it's like, okay, like you just got to figure it out. It's not working for you, man. And while I'm kind of talking about it, I think him at leadoff hitter is fine. I don't quite know where else he would be, because even if he can bat somewhere else in the lineup, he bats best there. I don't care why, whatever, just keep him there. Like,
True.
That's where he's most effective. And we've already talked about it a little bit, but with him at third base, it's so slow. It makes me nervous time. And I don't like sitting with that fear. I'm so happy that Goldschmidt's on our team, but I was so sad to know what that meant,
Yeah.
So
I think Carpenter will be fine at third base. The arm strength is it's an issue. You see the ball and it's essentially lobbed over there. Whether or not he's giving it 100%, I don't know, but that's what it looks like. It just looks like it's being lobbed over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of got to go with it. As long as he's hitting, I'll deal with whatever defense he puts up at third base. But until he starts hitting, he better look like a Gold Glover over there and produce for this team.
Yeah, I say that's fair. And it makes me sad because my baseball story is that I started trying to pay attention to baseball. And a lot of times that was just following the MLB at bat, seeing the different notifications that would pop up. I didn't even get to listen to the game. And I knew Matt Carpenter's name because he was always the one that would say that he was getting on base. And I thought, this guy's got to be great. So when I was brand new to the sport and couldn't list everybody that was on the roster, I was like, okay, Yadier Molina and Matt Carpenter. And now saying these things about Carpenter, like, I want him to be really good. It's the same thing with Adam Wainwright. I'm full in on him. I want him to do amazing. But if he's not, we have to be able to recognize that and figure out, okay, what are we going to do instead? Is this good enough, or do we need to make some adjustments? And he's not doing horrible right now. I'm not trying to say like, oh, get him off the field. I'm not mad at him like I'm mad at Marcelo Zuna. But
that's another topic.
Yeah, I got my rant out about that. I feel better. So
at this point, I just want him to get healthy. If that means he has to go on the 10-day IL or the 60-day IL, I don't care. But that game against Milwaukee, not the last throw that he made, it was the throw when Gamble hit the double in the corner.
Yes.
And when Ozuna threw it in and it didn't even make it to DeYoung, I audibly said, oh, dear God, it's worse than last year. Yeah. There's just no zip on that ball at all. And so until he figures it out, get him out of the lineup. Jose Martinez has a pretty good arm. Tyler O'Neill has a pretty good arm. They can both hit the ball too.
They're both good at their jobs. I mean, so J-Mart has some more to want defensively, but he's not bad, right? Like, I trust him to be out there and get the job done. Harrison Bader, I talk about that a lot. I swear I'm going to end up being known for my thoughts on Bader, but he does have hustle, and that's great. He is a good ball player. That's what I'm missing from Ozuna. And Tyler O'Neill, I think that he's hungry for it right now too. Like, I want that outfield to be O'Neill, Bader, and J-Mart.
Yeah, and I think that gives you the best chance to win. And the Cardinals have said this offseason, we're trying to win right now. Well, if you're trying to win right now, you need to recognize the elephant in the room and that some of your players are either a shell of their former self or hurt and not producing. Yep. And they need to address that and move forward because, like we've mentioned before, this division is tight. We can't afford to just give games away. And with some of these guys in the lineup, you are, in fact, giving games away. I'll defend Fowler for right now. He's getting on base. Yeah. He is hitting the ball hard. But defensively, he is still taking a step back, and his sprint speed is lower than it's been in years prior. So there's something about what he's doing.
Long legs, and it looks like he's going slow.
No, it's a fact. I heard it today, and I actually looked it up. His sprint speed has gone down like each of the past 4 or 5 years. So
that's all right. I can relate.
I mean, same. But I was never at a major league ready sprint speed, so I have nothing to compare that to.
Fair. Yeah. No, I agree with what you were saying there. Exactly what you said. I think the Cardinals, they're not in a bad position. I'm not the person that's going to say, oh, they're sucking. But there were certain things that we wanted to address in the offseason. I mean, we got Goldschmidt, we got Miller. Those are the two things that I see really, sticking out. We got another backup catcher. Cool. Yep. I'm not worried about Yachty this year. I know some people are. Whatever.
I mean, I'd like him to turn it around a little bit at the plate. It was a pretty rough little stretch there, but he did finally get another hit the other day.
Yeah, I'm not to be hypocritical at all, but as I mentioned before, I mean, it is the first week for everything. If I see that type of thing continue, then I'll be worried.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just like, not too concerned about it. But the performance I'm seeing from Miller makes me think, okay, that issue isn't as addressed as we thought it would be. And yeah, I'm just still seeing some similar problems. I want to get maybe another week into this. And if we're still having these struggles, then we need to make changes. And if we don't, that's when I'm going to wonder, what do you guys actually want from this? Because the Cubs and the Brewers are in a position where they could just run away with this thing and completely leave the Cardinals in the dirt if we don't put our all out there when it comes to that time when we know that it's actually not working.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my biggest issue with the Cardinals right now is strikeouts, because for the love of God, they need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
In that game against the Brewers, when Burns was starting off really strong and had like 10 strikeouts through 4 innings, I tweeted, I was like, screw it. I want the kid to break the record. Maybe that'll wake this team up to the point where they quit doing that, which they haven't stopped doing that. Thankfully, we got some runs on him, but my goodness. And it's everyone. It's everyone on the team is striking out way too much.
Well, it's not just your team, because if you look at trends for the last few years, strikeouts are up more in 2019 versus the 2018 season, which was up against the 2017 season, which was up against the 2016 season. So you're seeing a lot more of the I don't even know if it's swinging for the fences, but it's a lot more just not being patient at the plate, which thankfully the bright spot with the Cubs is they have been patient this year, and the strikeouts have been cut down significantly compared to the last 2 years, which is fantastic to see. And they're more along the lines of that 2016 trajectory per the offense, but they gotta get this other shit in gear, otherwise it's not gonna do anything. Because I mean, tonight they ended up scoring 4 runs at the end of the game, which, if the bullpen is just a regular bullpen, that might have actually been a little bit closer than 9-4. No.
Right. I think it's just I think I'm more frustrated just because, like you said, every team is striking out, and strikeouts have been going up year by year. But this year, it's like, it's not that we're striking out, it's that we're striking out significantly more than like pretty much every team in baseball. And we brought in Jeff Albert to fix that. And either the hitters aren't adjusting to his philosophies, or they're not listening, or what. But, when we strike out 17 times in a game, we shouldn't be coming back to win that game. We should be down by a lot. So for us, it seems like it's either the long ball or a strikeout. And I would love to see a little bit more run manufacturing, personally.
And we've seen teams that, if they live by the home run and die by the home run, they can go stretches and lose a lot if they're not hitting home runs, and that is scary.
Yeah. And like that whole series against Milwaukee, so much of the run production came via the home run from both teams. Mm-hmm. And it's like, unless you're hitting a home run, it's like you're not scoring anymore.
Honestly,
And it's getting to the point where it's like, I like seeing home runs, especially when I'm at the ballpark. Someone hits a home run, I'm cheering. This is fantastic. But if that's all we're doing, these guys are going to have stretches where they're not doing that. And then suddenly it's like, that loss column is going to fill up a lot quicker than the win column if we can't manufacture runs.
Yeah. I agree completely. I would add more to that, but I think you said it pretty well.
And I think that goes ultimately for both teams. You let those losses get away from you early in the year, you can't make them up. Yeah.
It's certainly tough, and the Cardinals have seen that the last few years. There's a reason we haven't made the playoffs. We let too many things get away, and none of those teams were bad teams, despite what people might tell you. We were always a couple pieces away, but now, we get the piece. We get Goldschmidt. We get Andrew Miller. There's no more excuses this year. If they don't at least make the playoffs, I don't know. It seems every year we address a need, and then other things start popping up.
Yeah.
Well, at least you address a need. The Cubs didn't do any of that this offseason.
I mean, to be fair with the Cubs, they got guys back from injury that are legitimately bigger moves than some teams make, is getting guys back from injury. And I don't think the Cubs really have too much to worry about other than maybe their bullpen.
Right.
I don't think their rotation is the strongest in the Central, but they've got guys that can get the job done. It's just a matter of whether or not they will.
I mean, if you get normal seasons, and by normal, I just mean average seasons out of Lester, Darvish, Hamels, Hendricks, and Quintana, the starting rotation's going to be fine. But and what I think the Cubs really need to do is they need to get that engine warming on the Iowa bus now, and not wait till the end of the month to figure out if, some of these guys that are currently in the bullpen are going to be able to right their own ship.
Yeah.
I think they need to. And I think a lot of people felt like Dakota Meckes, and some of these other guys in Iowa that are in Iowa now. The only reason why they didn't make the team is because some of the guys in the bullpen didn't have any options left for them to start in Iowa. And it was more about that than putting these guys on the 25-man roster because, you know, they option these guys. They're probably going to be picked up by other big league teams. And then you don't have the option of, you know, either putting them on the IL or whatever, getting kind of funky with that. So, God, I hope they do it sooner rather than later and not end up in a deeper hole that they're already in.
Yeah.
We can only pray.
and you know, the other thing that has been the most disappointing this beginning of this baseball season has been that Christian Yelich is still playing like a fucking MVP, and it pisses me off.
If I had a nickel for every time during that first series I said stop pitching to Yelich,
right?
I might not have a lot of money,
and
I have a ton of nickels.
I tell you what, and what makes me the most mad about Yelich being on the Brewers is when Miami started tearing down that team, Yelich was my number one go-get that I thought that the Cubs should have gone after, because for some reason I had watched enough Miami games to know how good that guy is. And it just makes me angry that the Brewers got him for nothing. They gave, you know,
I wouldn't say they gave him up for nothing, but those guys haven't produced yet. So it seems like they gave up nothing.
I felt like the prospects that they gave Miami weren't what Yelich was actually worth. I thought if they were going to get Yelich, they should have been giving top tier, and they got away with second tier and third tier prospects that they had in their system, because the Brewers minor league system is really good compared to a lot of other teams, and that's what they've done well in the past. So I was upset.
From the
and every
prospect
time
rankings I saw, from the prospect rankings I saw, Brinson at the time was ranked really well, and you know you've seen him at the major league level, and he hasn't really produced. And then the next guy they gave up was a top 100 guy, but again he hasn't been able to do anything. And there's so many Cardinals fans, you know, people going, why did we go after Ozuna? Why didn't we get Yelich? I'm like, if we would have given up similar ranked prospects at that time, we'd be giving up potentially Reyes, because at the time him and Brinson were really close on the ranking. And then you'd be giving up a guy potentially like Flaherty or a guy like Bader. And it's like, those are guys that are producing for us right now. So Yelich would be fantastic, but then we would have more things that we would need to address. And I don't think fans really understand that. It's not mostly that Yelich wasn't available, which he wasn't. Like they've made that clear. The Cardinals called on Yelich. They said, no, he's not available. We got Ozuna. Yeah. And then Yelich was basically like, I am not playing here. This team is garbage. And then the Brewers were able to pick him up. If the Cardinals would have gotten him, we'd be saying goodbye to some guys who are producing for us right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree.
But to be fair, though, I would have liked to get Yelich too, though. I mean, he's a stud.
I thought he was the better get over Ozuna, and it would have definitely worked out for you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Plus, he was a little young. He's younger.
Yeah, he's I believe a year or two younger, and he also had 2 more years of service time.
But did anybody expect Yelich to be this good?
No, absolutely not. Which is crazy.
Which now we get to look at Milwaukee and go, you guys suck.
Right.
because we thought they were getting a pretty good outfielder, and then they pick up Kane, and they're like, wow, their outfield's going to look good. And then Kane has a career year. Yelich wins an MVP, and now we're looking at it going, what the heck?
Right. Where did these guys come from?
Yeah.
And as Jacob says, Yelich won't even hit 70 home runs.
I was about to say, I mean, for a while, Goldschmidt was on pace for 243. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
So is Blake from Milwaukee because he says MKE and only people from Milwaukee say that?
Yeah. Yeah. For reference for everybody, Blake and Jacob are my co-hosts on the other podcast that I do, which is Whose Division Is It Anyway, which I'll talk about later. So
That
they
is the most amazing name, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's an NL Central podcast where the standings are made up and the Pirates don't matter. So
This is true.
excited.
They
They're-
don't matter.
Their rotation matters.
Their rotation
Yeah.
matters. They
That's
seem to
about
matter
it,
when
though.
the Cardinals played against them, but I don't like admitting that. We're gonna chalk it up to PNC
Yeah.
Park and that just weird things happen at that ballpark. But
I mean,
Yeah,
to be
Schwarber
fair,
hits bombs in the river.
to be fair, I called it beforehand that Archer was going to give them strikeout woes, and of course he did. And then
Yeah.
Tyon, I mean, legitimately, he might be a top
Tyon's
10
always
starter.
good.
He might be a top 10 starter in the NL. So I mean, they definitely made us work for it this past series.
mm,
Still looking
Yeah.
forward to playing them after we play the Brewers next week.
yeah.
You know
guys
what?
are going to be like, screw the
Yeah.
Brewers. We're going to take it out on Pittsburgh.
No, the most baseball thing of all would be that the Cubs are just going to beat up on the Brewers this weekend and sweep them, right? I
And
mean,
you
that's
know
how
what?
baseball works, right?
Yeah, and they
They're gonna
did
go
last
in-
year.
Yeah. They're going to go into Milwaukee. The Brewers are going to be full of themselves. The Cubs are going to be pissed, and they're going to come out of it with a 3-game sweep, and everybody's going to be
Just-
like, where the hell did that come from?
No, just do it. It helps our standings look better too.
Uh-huh.
I honestly, I don't
Absolutely.
know how this series against San Diego is going to go. And then I'm actually going to one of the games against the Dodgers. I don't
Oh,
know how that
really?
I don't know how that series is going to go either. But I mean, I'm mostly going for David Freese because it's David Freese. He's amazing.
So
Isn't
is that
he on
who
the
the
Padres
Cardinals have this weekend? Is it San
They
Diego?
play San Diego. I think it's 3 games if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
3 games
Mhm, yeah.
against San
And
Diego.
then they play the Dodgers.
Is that a 4-game series?
I think
I
it
would have
is.
I would have to double check, but I think
Yeah.
so.
I think it's a
If
4-game series against the Dodgers, and then I think we have another weird 2-game series, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to the Tuesday night game because if I did the math correctly, Michaelis should be starting. But then I also read that they're skipping Hudson's next start, but they still have that extra off day. So if they start Michaelis on Monday, I'm going to be so pissed because I wanted the Tuesday
Sad.
game to see him pitch because I have every single game that I went to last year. I mapped it out. I'm like, all right, Michaelis should be starting, and for some reason, something got flipped and he didn't start. And so I'm like, I'm getting so tired of them doing this to me because I've been wanting to see him pitch for so long, but every time
Yeah.
I went to a game, they screwed me. But to be fair, down in spring training, my girlfriend and I actually got to meet him and talk to him for a few minutes, so that was pretty
Wow.
cool. But we've been trying to get him to do an interview for my podcast, but he's as long as we can work something out, he's going to call in during the season on an off day, so that should be fun. But we got to go down there. He did a little snippet that we threw in our intro because Brad and I always go, I'm Brad, I'm Aaron, and you're listening to The Usual Suspects. Well, we got him to say, I'm Miles Michaelis, and you're listening to The Usual Suspects. And every time I listen, I just get really giddy and start laughing. It's the coolest thing I've ever
That's
done,
awesome.
ever. It's like, and by the way, if you didn't know this, he is super tall,
Really? How tall is he?
like 6'5".
That's
Casual.
not super.
He's
That's not
Pete- he's
super
Pete
tall.
Paul.
I mean, I've met Pete.
Come on.
I mean, well, here's the thing. I'm 5'9", so I'm like,
Oh, gotcha.
There you go.
so I'm looking at him and I'm like, how's it going? And of course,
Yeah, right.
my girlfriend fell in love.
Well,
Which,
yeah.
I mean, he's not bad to look at. At the time, he was sporting the beard too, and I like the
Not the
mustache.
mustache.
I like the mustache, I really do. But the beard he's got going on, he's a good looking guy, man. I can't say that I blame her that much.
I mean, if you ever get a hold of Jack Flaherty, you can just let your girl know because that's where it's at.
Hey, I'm trying. I've made so many posts just tagging like Cardinals players and stuff and seeing if they want to join the show. And Michaelis responded to one before spring training started. So we've actually been messaging him back and forth on Twitter for a while, trying to get something worked out. And I already know that I'm going to do this. I really want to get John Brebbia on the show too.
Nice.
But he has like no social media. And so I've just started I told Brad that I'm just going to go on Twitter every single day and send the same tweet mentioning the Cardinals, asking them what we have to do to get them on the show. So eventually, either they just give us an astronomical number we need to reach for retweets or whatever. But I just want to annoy him so much that they're like, fine, we'll get him on your show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may have to just stalk him, like follow him home from the ballpark one day. And
See, as much fun as that might be, I don't think I would do too well in prison. So I'm just going to hold off on that. I'll just, shake his hand and be like, hey, you want to be on our show? And when he tells me to, leave, or I'll call the police, I'll be like, yeah, all right, I'm just going to go. Sorry, man.
I'll be over here.
Yeah. I just want to see how his beard turns out this season. I mean, I love watching the end of the year, and his beard's like just the most magnificent thing I've ever seen.
Aaron, if it's any inspiration for you, it worked for Jake Taylor in Major League. He followed Lynn home from the ballpark, and that all worked out for him. So
yeah, but I think that came down to mostly plot development.
You don't know. You're not writing the story.
That's true, but someone wrote the story.
That's right.
They
and
didn't
maybe,
just.
And
I
maybe
don't
in
think
that
they
story,
I don't think they just followed him around with a camera and went, "Yeah, let's see how this goes."
no, but maybe that's the story that's being written. You're going to follow John Brebbia home. You're going to ask him to be on the podcast. You guys are going to end up being best friends.
Oh, we already had like this really weird discussion, my girlfriend and I, about Michaelis. He's like, what if he like invites us over to his house and we just become best friends? And I'm like, that is never going to happen. But I'm not going to lie. I thought about it for a solid hour. I was like, that would be pretty amazing. Like, we just go down to Florida, hang out at his house, watch his kids. Like, oh, it'd be a great time.
You just become his babysitter for whenever he needs it.
Hey, I'll take it. I do not care at all.
That is not a problem at all. All right, Aaron, where can people find you when you're not being so kind and guesting on our little podcast?
I find myself being a lot more active on Twitter lately. I just changed my handle, so you can find me at 2 birds on an arch. 2 is the actual number 2. Unfortunately, I wanted to do the word and put 2 birds on an arch, but it was 1 too many characters.
Are you serious?
1 too many characters. So it's 2 birds on an arch with the number 2. You can find me there. Or if you want to follow my podcast, The Mutual Suspects, it's at mutual_suspects. It's a good time.
It's a good time.
That's what I tell people. It's a good time, I guess. Maybe depends on your viewpoint on what's good and what's bad, but I think it's a good time.
It's got a fun name. I like it.
So we can have 280 characters in a post, but we can't have 16 characters in a name. Come on.
Yeah,
Twitter,
it's pretty ridiculous.
Twitter.
And to be fair, nowadays you don't even have to abide by the 280 characters. You can add as many posts to it as that you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Brecklyn, why don't you tell everybody about your new endeavor as we wrap things up tonight?
Yeah, so as I mentioned just a little bit ago, I now am a part of a second podcast. Second one being Whose Division Is It Anyway? NL Central podcast, where Blake Root, a Brewers fan, and Jacob Foote, a Cubs fan, join me each week. Right now, Mondays on 7 o'clock or at 7 o'clock. So you guys can find us at oh gosh, I am so bad. Someday I'll have this. It's literally the Whose Division Is It Anyway? Just the initials. So WDIIA pod on Twitter. I'm going to get so much heat for not having that memorized yet, but it'll be fun. We also have a Facebook post. I know, it's so bad. We got a Facebook page, and we broadcast very similarly to the way that this show does. It's real fun. You guys should show up.
Elliott, you got anything you want to talk about? I mean,
you know what?
We're doing it.
You can find me at TOR_Elliott. You're going to find a lot of baseball, a lot of Marvels and Star Wars stuff, and a lot of video game stuff. So hit me up about all of it. I'm game.
Yeah. And also, if you're in the Midwest, in the Chicagoland area, and you have waste management needs, give Elliott a call. He can help you out. Because he is Groot.
I am Groot. That's right.
Literally, he is Groot.
That is
He
true.
is Groot.
All right, with that, thank you folks for joining us. We'll have the podcast up so that you can re-listen to it in all its glory by the time you wake up in the morning. When we're not live on Facebook at Team of Rivals Podcast, you can find us online at teamofrivalspodcast.com, on Twitter at Team of Rivals Pod, and on Instagram at Team of Rivals Podcast. You can contact us by email at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. I'm not going to tell you where to find Elliott on Twitter because he just mentioned it. Brecklyn, you know where to find her because she did it, and I'm not on Twitter. So there you go. If you're listening to us after the fact, why not give Radio Public a try? Radio Public's a free platform that throws a couple of pennies our way every time you listen. Otherwise, you can catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. And please share that with your friends, your family. Heck, share it with your enemies. Help us get more listeners so that we can make this a thing. And if you would like to get some of your own Team Rivals gear, don't forget to visit the team store on Zazzle. And with that, any last thoughts, guys?
I think I'm good.
I'm glad you joined us, Aaron.
Cubs go 2-3
If I
this
was back in
weekend.
time, I'd be
Or
happy.
2-1. 2-3. Cubs go 2-1 this weekend.
All right, predictions by the next time that we well, actually I won't be here
I don't
next
like
week,
this
but
game.
I think Elliott and Brecklyn are going to try to make it a thing. So what happens in the next two series, guys? Let's go to you, Aaron. You got the Padres and the Dodgers. What do you think?
I think Flaherty's going to fare well in the first game. I think we win the overall homestand. I think we win 4-7.
Brecklyn.
For the for the Padres series, I think the Cardinals are going to take it 3-1, and for the Dodgers, it's going to be a 2-2 split.
How about the Cubs? They got the Brewers at home, and then they have the Pirates at home.
Yeah. Or the Brewer. Well, yeah, that's true. I think you're right. Baseball is weird. I think the Cubs go 2-1 this weekend against the Brew Crew, and then I think they right the ship. I think we see a sweep of the Pirates at home at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I'm going to be the pessimist on this cruise. I think the Cubs are lucky if they pick up 2 wins by the next time that this show is supposed to air. So that's my prediction.
Guys, fine.
I'm sorry, what was that, Aaron?
I said, you guys will do fine.
Maybe in the long run, but I don't think that they're going to turn things around that quickly. I think the bullpen is a serious issue, and until they can start to see what's going on down at Iowa and see some real production there, I don't think that we're going to see much movement.
I think the bus warms up by Monday.
No, they'll only have 3 games under their belt in Iowa. It's too small a sample size to make any decisions.
I
See,
don't think it
Aaron,
matters.
the trick to being on this show is that you fraternize with the enemy, but you don't encourage to the enemy. So
Hey, I'm just doing my best, man. You guys can be down in the dumps over there.
that's true.
Hey, we haven't had to experience this in 5 years, man. It's taking some getting used to.
Yeah.
For sure.
since we pushed you
Right.
out of the playoffs.
That's right. All right, thank you folks for joining us this week.
At one of those games. I was supposed to be at game 1, the only game we won in that series, but my buddy actually had to back out, so we didn't go. So I missed a chance. I missed a chance at witnessing the last time the Cardinals won a playoff game.
Unbelievable.
Should have just ditched him and gone anyway.
I would have felt terrible, though.
You're too nice.
Exactly.
All right. We better wrap it up.
I got to tell you, just to put a bow on that, probably one of the best feelings in the world when Ron texted me at the end of that series and said, "You got to feel pretty good right now, don't you?"
Oh.
Yes, Ron, I did. I did. All right. Thanks, folks, for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.